Yo, what's good? Welcome to the Mowry podcast. I'm already cheesing because I'm about to say what I'm about to say. My name is Tavior Mowry.
I'm Mowry, and this is the Mowry podcast. It's redundant,
You just
but
gonna,
it gets the point across.
but you saw how excited I was.
I thought we were going to do it together.
You hit me with the Charlie
talking.
Brown. It's like that.
You stopped talking. I thought we were going to do it together.
I know, but I was about to make like a
Okay, do it again.
emphasis. Now we're good.
I'm Mowry.
It's a wrap. How y'all doing? We didn't do a podcast yesterday. Last week. Excuse me.
We've had 2 off weeks. It feels like we
Yes.
haven't actually done this in a minute.
Yeah, it does. We went on a family vacation in Florida. It was like, how many adults?
There's 7, 8, 9, 10.
10 adults
Mhm.
and
7
7 kids. Which was great.
Yeah.
We got back from the DR.
Well, we got back from Florida.
From Florida.
Was home for a week.
Home for a week. Went to the DR. Got back on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
The DR was cool.
Yeah, okay.
For sure want to go back at some point.
Yeah. And this whole week we have like been asleep at like 8:30.
Yo, tapping
I think
out.
it's because like in the DR we didn't have Triumph with us, so it was like
that was our first time traveling without him.
Together.
Yeah.
Like he's been gone and then I've been gone, but we've not left him. So shout out to my parents for keeping
Shouts
him
out to parents
for the weekend, and we just were like, obviously I'm pregnant, so it's not like it was just completely kid free because the vibes are still on, some vibes. But y'all, if you didn't know, I'm pregnant. We just announced that. But we were still up to like 1. We were up till like 1:30, and then we get up to eat breakfast at like 8:30.
Facts.
Because all of our friends were there, so we were just hanging. And then we, unlike the rest of them, we came back and was dropped back into parenthood.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, so that's been like a little bit of a. It's taken a week to get back to it.
Get back in the swing.
Right.
Yeah, ain't no sleeping in like, oh, let me catch up. Like
no, like 2 nights.
Like, eat. He's just like,
and he's like waking up in the middle of the night. He also caught a virus while we were gone. So he was still like recovering when we got back. So then his appetite was weird. It was just like not a smooth landing.
Nah.
It was thankfully like everything I know about kids I learned from my mom. So he was in very good hands. Thanks. And I think it was like a 24-hour thing. And mom was able to nurse him back to health like that. But because I was coming in on the back end, like I was learning like
where he was at.
Yeah, where he was at versus like kind of riding it out. But now he's back, eating everything.
Eating more. Like he's starting to eat throughout the day. Like it's not even like meal.
Right.
It's like meal. I'm gonna eat on your plate. I'm gonna eat on his plate. Then I'm gonna eat a snack. And now I'm hungry for lunch.
Too much. Some of that is like, I once had a friend who had a golden retriever. And she was like, you can't leave food out all day because they'll eat themselves to death.
Okay.
And you have to kind of taper, like, okay, because they won't like
There's
stop
no
when they're
switch.
full.
Yeah. I'm like, let me get while they get is good.
Some of that I'm like, try. You're not hungry. There's no way you're hungry.
No way.
No, you can't have this.
We went to breakfast this morning, and I ordered a hash brown and some avocado toast, and he was eating majority of the hash brown after he had already ate his own breakfast, was trying to eat your cereal.
I gave him 1 bite. He was distraught when you said, no, I'm going to get you dressed to go with me. You cannot eat mom's breakfast.
Yeah.
So he came, got dressed, and then he ran back to me. And the bowl was empty, and he was like,
So after all that happened, we get breakfast, just father-son time, and I really wanted some of the hash brown because I was like, well, you've ate already. And the last bite was probably like this much. And I put it on my fork, and he started bugging a little bit. So I was like, okay, like, it's all good. I split it in half, and I gave him his half. And then I ate that last half, and this guy lost it for, like, a smooth 5 seconds. Tears, like, for real. Man.
He's highly food motivated. I wonder where he gets it from.
I couldn't tell you.
Tavior will be eating a meal and be at lunch eating a meal. He's like, what you thinking about for dinner? I'm like, I'm not thinking about dinner.
Nah, like, yeah, no,
It is
that's so real.
crazy.
I'm like, so what's the mood for dinner? Like, I just look forward to food. I just want to know like what's on the itinerary for the day.
Yeah, I'm not that way. I'm like, what is it, live to eat or eat to live? I'm more on the eat to live side of life. I enjoy food, but I'm not like, oh, I have to have all these food experiences. Where he would love to have food experiences.
Yeah, like, but I'm also not like.
I'm not saying what you're.
Like, let me get a 12 course. I'm just like, yo, what's
No, I
going
said
on?
food
Like
experiences. So that could be like a taco truck, like Cheap Charlie's, or it could be Bite a Bit. Either one of those can sponsor it.
facts. Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Both in Nashville. I would go check them
Yeah.
out. Or it could be like the sushi place you told me about.
Oh, Sushi Park
Mm-hmm.
or Sushi Parlor? I don't know.
In
The one in
California.
LA?
Yeah.
That place is fire.
That was more of an experience where it was like a,
Absolutely. Yeah, that was crazy.
So I'm saying you enjoy it all.
I love
That's
it.
what I mean by experience. You know how they have the like travel, like food, like it'll be like on
Travel Network? I need that.
Yeah, but they'll go to like India.
Yeah.
And do like their street food.
Tap me in.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like my stomach kind of was just like, I don't know if I could do like super international joints.
I could. I love
Where it's
that.
like scorpions and like.
Well, no, they
I
have
don't want to
like.
go deep. I want like the commercial of the.
No, but I don't think they're eating scorpions only.
Yeah.
I think they'll have like options. Like you could do that, or you could do the chicken and the beef.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? For sure.
How was it announcing that we're having another baby?
It was dope.
It was very
Put
much
up a picture. Chuck the deuce.
I'm curious if any of you guys saw me getting bigger. Obviously, I wear big clothes anyway.
You should be hiding.
And I just don't carry big. Like I didn't with Try. I'm not this time around either. So, it wasn't like so hard, but I'm definitely thicker. So I hope you guys noticed. You know what I mean? I hope there's like because then that'll make me feel better. Unless people are like, no, you look the exact same. For some reason, that feels a little funny to me.
Oh, like
you look the exact same as you always do. I'm like, I always look this way.
You got a slim face.
Thanks, but I should look a little like based on the scale that I'm getting on when I go to doctor's appointments. I'm thicker. I'm significant right now. I'm significantly thicker than I typically am.
There's no complaints.
So I hope that like I'm okay with people noticing that because you should notice when I also lose weight. I shouldn't just be like
snap back when you.
No, I shouldn't be like you always look the same.
Oh yeah, it's all good.
And I'm bigger.
Yeah, but you're doing a great job of hiding because your face looks slim.
My face looks slim, but it doesn't look as slim as it normally does.
Yeah, but people's face always fluctuates.
Mine doesn't.
Okay.
Anyway, we were going to last pregnancy. We waited until I think I was 8 months pregnant or something. It was like the very end until we announced. This time, it's not really like a secret. We just didn't tell the internet. Like all of our friends and family knew.
Facts.
And then,
can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Like this is a broader conversation, but we'll keep it here. Like the fact that when people would find out in person, they automatically had kind of like a reserved like attitude towards it because you're like, was it a secret? Because I didn't see it online. And it's like, nah, like we're not hiding anything. It's just online. Which is why we're telling you in person, because like we actually do life with you.
But that's become the norm of like all news isn't news. You know how it's like Facebook official back in the day? Like if you got in a relationship and then like you would go from like single to relationship, or you could tag. Be like in a relationship with Tavior.
We're Facebook official.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're Facebook official. I think that was not the beginning, but the a good excuse me, I have to break. So it's also a pregnancy thing. What's the word I'm looking for? Example, maybe a good example of like what the internet did.
Yeah.
And it's like things didn't become official
until it was online. Now it's super whack.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me the same way it bothers you, but
well, I think it just bothers me from a like collective consciousness of like if it's not on the internet, it's not real. And it's like people be lying day in and day out on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I just was like so sick this first trimester this time around.
That's a fact.
It's just like not something I wanted to talk about, and I was not with Triumph's pregnancy. I remember we waited because I wasn't as excited at first. Which, you know, of course now I'm like super, but there's just like a lot of emotional stuff that comes with that, and I had no context of parenting and no context of how my life was going to change, and I've always been very career focused, so it was just like a little bit of a little wrench in my plan, not in God's. For
God's
this
plan?
one,
God's plan.
We just wanted to keep it between us and our family, and then and our friends, and then I ended up getting sick, so I definitely wasn't putting it online because I don't care to answer many questions if I'm not feeling well. And then when we felt like it was right, we shared.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It feels cool that people are excited for us and celebrating the new baby, and all is well with me and the baby and healthy, and everything's going to plan. So we're excited for when baby comes.
The little another one.
But today we wanted to get into, which kind of ties into a baby thing for me at least, but between the difference between what was it, rest and stillness?
Yeah, there's a difference. No, there's a difference between being still, and there's a difference between being still and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Being still is an active thing, where doing nothing is doing nothing.
It reminds me of in I want to say First Chronicles or maybe Second Chronicles. When they are I think it's King Jehoshaphat is getting ready to go out and fight, and they're outnumbered, and God says, "Be still and see the salvation of the Lord." So they go out and send out the Levites first, and they start worshiping, and then the Lord confuses the army, and they
start attacking each other, right?
Yeah,
that's great.
They start attacking each other, and there's so much they like were able to go and collect all the things off of them. There was like too much to carry.
Yeah.
But he didn't say do nothing and see the salvation of the Lord. He said be still and see the salvation of the Lord. And then their first response to that was worship. And I think that even sometimes for me in my mind, worship feels like doing nothing. Because I've confused like what action actually is and what my job actually is. Okay. What I actually do to move the needle in my life. What I actually contribute to like make things happen.
And what's that?
Faith.
Okay.
And the works God calls me to. But I think it's faith and everything else. You want me to do what? Okay, cool. How am I going to figure out how to make this happen?
Yeah.
How do I strategize, and what plans do I have? Then I end up stressed. But being still is going, okay, I trust you. What would you have me do?
Right. And
not like, because there's also the opposite side of like, oh, God's got it, I don't got to do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. He says we co-labor with him, you know. But then there's the fear side, which is I have to do everything. God told me to do this, so now I have to do everything.
Right.
And he said, well, I've gone before you. So I've actually already done the work.
Fact.
So I'm just asking you to partner with me in watching it unfold and being obedient in the way that I tell you to move. But it's a tricky, not balance, but a tricky way to submit because it looks different for different people and it looks different in different seasons. So in this season right now where I'm growing another human, my work around the house, let's just put it in that category. I take care of a lot of what's going on around the house, making sure the laundry gets done, making sure, you know, everybody has clean underwear. My responsibility in that first trimester when I was so sick was like little to none because Tavior picked up a lot of that load. But that doesn't mean now I'm in disobedience. It's just like the season's different. And so I think that in our lives kind of at a bigger scale, sometimes God will call you to do something. And the next season he says, just lay on the couch.
Facts. Chill out.
And this is somebody else's opportunity to step in. But it doesn't mean like, oh, you missed a boat. Like, man, you just... But it's something I have to learn daily. It's not like for whatever reason, that stillness versus doing nothing concept is hard for me to to grasp in life.
Yeah. I feel like it's, for me, it's this like just an expression of self-control and faith, because in the being still, it's an example of having faith, knowing that like I'm still, therefore I'm being obedient, and I have faith that by me being still, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do right now, instead of trying to take things into my own hand. And I personally have grown to love that place. And I feel that it's such an incredible place to be. And it's something that I desire to just master. Of like, master in the sense of, this is where I live. I live in stillness. And we were talking earlier about just like, Jesus never rushed anywhere. At any moment, he was never like, oh snap, like we gotta go. Like he was just chilling, vibing, cooling. Nothing ever took him out of body. Even when people were talking to him reckless, and I could speak for myself, like that's something that I've been really trying to let saturate my soul, that like Jesus was never provoked. When he had like every right to be like, bro, don't you know I am? Like, let me like really show you what's going on. He was just like, is that what you say I am? Okay. Like, he was so settled, so composed, so poised, if you will. I don't know why I said composed like that.
If you were already thinking about Santa Claus, like, that's why.
Exactly. But yeah, so
well, and even it didn't mean that he didn't have emotion.
Nah.
It didn't mean that it didn't bother him.
But didn't let
he had a
governance over his emotions.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that is one of the most like explicit examples of power. Yeah. And I've said that like gentleness is the highest form of strength. And in that example of having complete control of one's strength, you're able to be like super hard with it, but also and to me that just shows that you have mastery. And it says better is it for one man to have mastery over oneself than to have control of a city. Like I paraphrase either a psalm or a proverb, but like it states in scripture that like, yo, if you can master yourself, oh man, I just feel like if you can master yourself, you've become an incredible utilitarian tool in the hands of God. Because now he's like, oh snap, he submitted to me, and I can place him wherever I need to place him, and I know that things are gonna be kept under wraps because he's not a wild card.
And it comes from identity.
Yeah.
Like Jesus was like, he knew who he was.
Facts.
I'm only here doing my Father's business,
Facts.
which meant he knew he was the son.
Facts.
And
operated from there.
Right. It wasn't like he was like, I got to figure out how to be used to the best of my ability.
You know what? That's probably why he wasn't really, or not really, why he never bucked.
Right.
To be like, what? You won't? Like, he didn't have to prove anything to anyone else because he didn't need to prove anything to himself.
He had a very deep understanding of who he was. It's like an anchor, right? Like, if the whole shit, they let down the anchors, it's not going anywhere. And I think that was his understanding of just like, okay, this doesn't mean anything about who this doesn't change anything about who I am. Like, waves come and things get tossed around, but like, that doesn't change the fact that I'm a ship.
Would you argue that if somebody were to contest something about themselves, that someone was trying to say that they aren't or they are something, and that person felt the need to be like, I am this, that, or the third, would that be an indication that that person may not actually believe that they truly are not that thing or they are that thing?
You could say that in a generalized way.
Like they feel threatened by it?
I think it's probably more nuanced than that because we have very different upbringings, and you could have been like, a dad could have said to his son, "Don't let anybody ever disrespect you."
Facts.
Like if somebody says something about you, tell them who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't necessarily mean they don't believe it, but it means I was taught to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but generalizing it, I think so.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a time and place for that.
For sure. Because even Jesus told people who he was.
Mm-hmm. But it was
but
never
not
out
in
of
a,
like,
yeah.
I'm trying to prove something to you. It's just like, this is who I am.
This is just the facts.
Yeah.
And like, if you really even think about the statement, I am the Son of God, is like such a huge claim.
That's why Cass was ripping clothes.
Mm-hmm. And he believed it because he knew it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like I had to learn to believe that this is who I was.
Right.
He was like, "This, I know this is who I am."
Mm-hmm.
And which is why he could go away and be like, "I'm gonna dip off by myself," because there wasn't this. Well, now they think I'm doing miracles. Now I do miracles, so I guess I got to do more miracles. Or, well, I guess they saw me do water to wine, so I guess I got to.
If anything, he was pushing away so that wouldn't be the focus.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell anybody what I did.
Yeah.
Go, but don't tell anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it just like wasn't about that.
Yeah. He didn't want the message to get muddled.
Right. We live in a culture, and I'll just make it about me, like, where my identity has been up for grabs at whatever the shiniest or what I believe is the most valuable thing. And so it's like, aren't you the guitar player? Yes, that is who I am. Aren't you married to Tavior? Yes, that is who I am. Versus, yes, that's who I'm married to. Yes, that's what I do.
Right.
But I'm a child of God.
Facts.
And that just puts everything back into perspective. It doesn't mean they're not valuable. Facts about you. Because I even think it's significant that we know who Jesus's earthly parents were.
Yeah.
With Mary and Joseph. It wasn't just like, didn't matter. Like, let's just move on to the fact that he was the Son of God. Like, we knew that Joseph was a carpenter. You know, like, we knew these things about them because they hold value, but it's not the most valuable thing. And unless you know the most valuable thing, things will always be up for grabs. And I do believe that part of this is part of the sanctification process. Because who I am 5 years ago, before we were married, feels very different than now with 2 kids and a mortgage, and, you know, and it could be easy for me to fall into, I'm Triumph's mom. Especially because he's so valuable. I would love to be known by that. Yeah, no. I gave birth to him in February of 23. You know, these are the facts about me. When it's still not. You know, like, it's a great honor. Like, children are a gift from the Lord. But they didn't say children are now your identity. And when you put your identity in those things, I think fear is always kind of waiting close by. Because then what happens if...
Because those things are... Because it's like, all of those identities can be removed. All of those things can be removed. Except the true one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because then it's like, what happens if Try has a tantrum at the mall? What does that say about me? What happens if he doesn't get good grades in school? What does that say about my parenting? What does that say about me? And it's like so subtle, but even his actions become about my identity. And it's just so shaky. Like there's nothing solid about that foundation.
No stability.
But God is like, I'm giving you something that cannot be shaken. It's immovable. Stand on this. And from this, do everything else.
Facts. But
so often we do everything else almost for that.
Yeah. Like I gotta work for something that I already am. That's
right.
like that.
To become somebody I already am.
Facts. By grace. And grace alone. Just like the whole being seated with and sitting in Christ. We didn't do anything for that. However, that is our position. And from that position is which everything else can take place.
Right.
We're not hustling to get there.
Right.
And I know I've done that majority of my life.
Same. And mine came more from like I was my own test. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, I had, this sounds prideful. I don't mean it this way.
Okay.
I grew up in like a suburb, like not a lot of black people. So by like process of elimination, maybe, or maybe that's what not I'm looking for, but whatever. Black kids were just more, they were cooler because there's only 5 of us in a class of 30.
By rarity?
Yeah. So it's like, that's cool. And then my eye color is lighter. So people were like, you're like exotic. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I'm just black, but whatever, you know? But because, and then I traveled growing up. So it was like, wow, you do that cool thing. Started the band, black female guitar player. Wow, you do that thing. So being like, told that I was cool by other people wasn't like necessarily a rare thing in my world. But I always felt this like, well, I need to be good enough for me. Like, you think it's cool because I'm the only person doing it. I need to be good enough if I'm compared to John Mayer. Like, you're not comparing me to John Mayer. I'm comparing me to John Mayer. So actually, I'm not a good guitar player, even though you think I am. So mine was less about like outward opinion and more so about like my opinion is actually like higher than God's. Because he says you're good enough, and I'm like,
yeah, but like,
I will be once I figure out how to do, and once I become this, and once everybody else is validating that what God is saying is true.
Yeah,
that's fine. What I'm saying is, I need to do, and I need to become, so that I can be valuable. And it's like, well, then to who? You actually told me that one time, in I think our first year of marriage. Do you remember this?
Nah, but
no, just say just say no. We were like laying in bed, and I don't know if we had gotten into a fight. I don't remember the circumstances. I just remember what you said. We were like laying in bed, and I was like, I think I just want to be good enough for you. And you're like, I don't think that's true. And I was like, yes, it is. And you're like, I think you want to be good enough for you. Let it go. Just let it pass. And I was like, dang, what does that actually mean? And it means that I became my own God.
There it is.
And I was like worshiping my own opinion over the opinion of the Lord. And then there's that like false humility thing where it's like, no, like I'm not actually, no, you know.
Like just, beneath all that, you like,
cool.
I'm really that.
Obviously.
I'm really that.
But I remember God told me years ago, you will never become humble if you continue to store up the praises of men in your heart. And so it was like this weird, like, I'll take it and store it for a rainy day, but like, I'm going to work for it. I have to keep working for it. And there's no rest in that. So then you introduce the idea of stillness into that, where it's like, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Well, if my opinion is higher than the Lord's, how could I trust him enough to stand still?
Right.
And how does standing still feel like doing anything positive when I've made standing still and doing nothing the exact same thing? Based out of a lack of trust of God's word, what he says about me. Like, if I don't believe what he says about me, there's very little I'll believe he says about everything else.
Yeah.
If I don't believe that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, how do I believe that he'll take care of all my needs?
Yeah.
This is the same mouth.
Yeah.
This is the same heart. This is the same mind. It's like, I'm for you.
Yeah.
But I don't believe you.
Yeah. The compartmentalizing of his word and promises.
And you feel like you can actually do that. You feel like you can be like, no. I believe that he'll provide all my needs.
Yeah.
I just don't think that he was right about me. Well,
right.
He's a liar in one of these.
Right.
And if he's a liar once, then he's always a liar, right?
Facts.
Or he's telling the truth in all of it.
Yeah.
So it's like a battle between your brain, which is why he says, don't lean to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge me, you know.
I feel like it's maybe not necessarily the brain, but just the flesh of being man.
And
because the same thing that you experience with like identity, I guess the identity side of like me being my own God, I experience with like, are you gonna leave me? Provision, all that kind of thing wrapped around, where it's like, well, let me make sure I secure myself just in case something doesn't shake out. Cause like I say, you'll never leave and forsake me, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, it's the same thing. The seed of it is the same thing, which is pride.
Yeah.
Cause I really think that like in those moments, I really believe that like I got me. Like,
one thing I know for sure.
I got me and I'm finna make this shake for real, like an earthquake.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, bro.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. And it's the same thing with you, but it's still rooted in the same place of this pride.
Yeah.
And that's just the flesh of man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, mine would be I made my reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I did the work.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I have to continue to.
Facts. And I'm everything that they say I am. The good things. You know what I'm saying? And I
don't care about the bad stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I experienced that too. But it is like that pride is the seed of it all, in my opinion.
And I think, like when you read through Job and when God responds to him,
Humble is my boy.
Every time.
So where were you at?
And that was even in grief.
Yeah.
Like that, Job was picked because of how faithful he was, because of where his heart was, because of his posture. It wasn't like, I need to make an example out of him because like a Nebuchadnezzar thing, where it's like, you need to submit. This was like, you're one of mine. And even still, don't take it too far.
You're like, hey.
I feel you. You know what I mean? I'm with you.
Yeah.
Were you there, though?
Yeah.
You know? And
I feel like that, like, for lack of a better expression, like, dose of humble pie is just like, I need that to give it to myself.
I will gladly read Job over and over.
I don't
need to like experience it. I'll memorize it.
Thank you for the grace that you've given me to have the opportunity and ability to humble myself before you. That I do not need to be humbled by your hand. I choose to humble myself.
Got that? We're on the same page.
Because his hands is mad heavy, and I never want you to take your hands off of me, and I pray and believe that you never will. But putting hands on me to humble me, I never want to posture and position myself for that, ever.
No.
Ever. Like Chris Tucker on Friday. Ever. Like, for real.
But yeah, I think thinking about kind of where the conversation went, and it is a lack of identity and a lack of trust in God that prevents us from true stillness. Because essentially God said, sit there and watch me work.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
You say, I got it. Chill out.
But not in like a cocky way. There's nothing greater than him. There's nothing to prove.
Well, it's like more so just like, this won't happen without me.
Yeah. And this is how much I have you.
Right. Yeah.
This is nothing for me. This isn't to prove. This isn't to be like, okay, watch this. This is like, okay, thank you for coming to me. Wait there. This is how much I'm going to fight your battles. I'm going to go to even to the point where I'm like, you're confused. You're fighting who you think they're your enemy, but they're actually the people you came here with. It's like, and all we had to do was stand and worship. But if I don't, it just goes back to a trust thing.
Where you're saying he was confusing the enemy. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying the enemy now is fighting themselves, thinking they're fighting the enemy, meaning
you. That they came to get. That'll preach. I need that. And it's like, it even says like we don't even fight our own battles. So why am I out here like?
Okay, tell me where to go.
Who we fighting? Like, nah, like chill out, take it easy.
But again, it's like thinking through the lens of a parent. If Try was, I don't know, getting bullied at school or something like that. And I knew that I just had to talk to the principal. He's like, I have to go and fight it. It's like, you don't have to. I'll take care of it. And he's like, well, how? And he's like, I got it. Well, how? I promise you. I got it. I want his posture to be like, okay, I feel better. They said they had it. Now I can go play outside. Not like, well, what if they don't? Well, what if they forgot? Like, do I have to go back and, it's like, no, because you know who we are. And like, we have created trust with you enough to say, like, when he says or when they say they got me, they got me. Like, how much more has God been like, I got you? And he did. But I still fall into the, well, how? It'll work out. And how will it work out? Because we were talking earlier about the house. Like, when we bought this house, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. He said it would. And it still was like, in that like final hour, it was like, there's no way. We've done everything we knew how to do.
It's in those times where it's like, I wonder how hard I make it on myself.
Very unnecessarily.
Yeah, but it's tough though. You know what I'm saying? Of like, oh, the outcome is going to be the same regardless, but how do I experience this situation? And I think that goes back to the like never being out of body.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Because it's posture that will create your experience.
But also it's comforting knowing that even when Jesus was in the garden, he was like, yo, I do not want to do this, but your will over mine. But I also don't want to do this. Like, if this cup could pass, like, it was like, all right, I guess it's not. Keep it rolling.
Yeah. But he didn't run.
Nah.
He was like, I actually am out. This don't make no sense. I'm not doing this.
He said, I'm about it. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
For real.
Which reminds me of his birth and Christmas. And how
let's end on that note.
Today, I'll tell you, I have better to say. Okay, today I got up before to even try. Well, it doesn't matter. I was up and I was doing laundry, and it's like in Nashville, it's like cold. It's like 50s.
A little bite on the air in the morning.
And we shoot the episodes in our basement, so it's like very cold down here. But anyway, I was like, I'm feeling Christmassy. One of my favorite Christmas movies is Santa Claus with Tim Allen. So I put that on, and I'm folding laundry. I had like gotten backed up, so I was like, before Try gets up, let me go ahead and fold laundry. And then I was like, dang, I have to use the bathroom again. So I go to use the bathroom, and then I come out, and I was like, Tave, I'm surprised you didn't mention anything about the movie I chose. And he was like, yeah, it is what it is. Because he's always like, it's too early. So I'm like, it's still too early to put up the Christmas tree? And he's like, I don't have a comment about that. And walks out of the room. And I was like, fine. So then I turn around, and he had brought the Christmas tree upstairs. And I didn't see it because I was paying attention to the clothes. And I was like, it felt like Christmas Day.
Yeah, I was like, saw her face. She was so geeked.
Yeah.
Also, it's October 19th. So I want y'all to know that. And also, I want you to know I love you. And I always want you happy. Yeah.
Hey, man, we're gonna be in California for Christmas. Yeah. So our time with the tree is cut short.
Oh, that is true.
So we kind of have to balance it out.
Yeah, we're going to balance it out.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Mowry podcast. Until next time. Bye. Peace.